So you've decided to get into trading. You're excited, you see the potential, and then that painful moment when you look at your account and it's just dropping. We've all been there. It's a real gut punch. But what if I told you it has almost nothing to do with luck and everything to do with a few common pitfalls? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. You know, when the losses start to pile up, it's so easy to blame something else. You hear it all the time. The market's rigged, or this is just too complicated. And I get it, it feels that way sometimes. But thinking like that, it's a trap. It takes all your power away and puts you in the passenger seat. But here's the good news, and it's actually really empowering. The market isn't your enemy. The real problem, and this means the solution, lies in 5 very common and, most importantly, totally avoidable mistakes. Once you can see them, you can start to sidestep them, and that changes everything. Okay, let's start at the very beginning with the absolute foundation. The first 2 mistakes we're going to cover are like the concrete pillars of your trading career. It's all about what you know and how you protect what you've got. If you get these 2 wrong, honestly, nothing else really matters. This right here, this is probably the biggest mindset shift you have to make. The market is not a casino. If you walk in and start throwing money around like you're at a Vegas slot machine, well, the market's going to take your money just as quickly. You have to see trading for what it is, a profession, a skill. It takes learning, practice, and a real plan, just like any other serious career. So what does trading without knowledge actually look like? Well, it's watching a bunch of random YouTube videos and suddenly thinking you're a pro. It's when your buddy gives you a hot tip and you just jump on it, no questions asked. It's basically like trying to fly a 747 after just glancing at the in-flight magazine. You have bits and pieces of info, but no real, solid understanding of what you're doing. And that leads us to the single biggest account killer in the game, having zero risk management. This is when you risk way too much on a single trade, just hoping and praying it's the big one. Look, professionals live by one simple rule. They never risk more than maybe 1 or 2% of their entire account on one idea. So for them, a losing trade is just a small paper cut. But for a beginner with no rules, it's a knockout punch. And you can see the 2 worlds so clearly here. On one side, you have the gambler's mindset, just chasing a thrill, risking it all on a whim. Then you have the professional. And for the professional, job number 1 isn't making $1 million. Job number 1 is protecting their capital so they can show up and trade again tomorrow. Survival always, always comes first. All right, so you've got your foundation of knowledge and risks sorted out. Now we get to the next level of challenges, and these are all about the mental game. This is the battle inside your own head, fighting that urge to always be doing something and learning the difficult art of just waiting. This is such a classic beginner trap. There's this little voice in your head that says, if I'm not in a trade, I'm not making money. And that constant pressure to be in the market leads to this really destructive habit of overtrading. It's a total misunderstanding of how this actually works. The thing is, being busy is not the same as being profitable. In fact, it's usually the opposite. More trades just means you're opening yourself up to more risk, you're piling on the stress, and all those little commission fees start eating away at your account. You end up taking bad trades, not because they're great opportunities, but just because you're bored or you have FOMO. Which brings us to mistake number 4, a total lack of patience. You know, professional traders, they're more like snipers than machine gunners. They spend most of their time just sitting there, waiting, scanning the horizon for that one perfect shot that fits their plan. They understand a fundamental truth. In trading, you get paid to wait. And this just lays out the internal feeling perfectly. The impatient trader is on an emotional roller coaster of excitement and panic. It's just pure impulse. The professional, they're like a patient farmer. They plant their seeds when the conditions are right, they tend to them, and they let the plan work. It's calm, it's disciplined, it's deliberate. Okay, let's talk about our final mistake. And this one, well, it's more tempting today than it has ever been before. It's the temptation to just let someone else do the thinking for you. I know you've seen them. The signal services, the gurus on social media, the private chat groups. They all promise the same thing, right? The easy way out. Just copy my trades and get rich. And man, it sounds amazing. But it's really like letting a stranger lead you through a minefield while you're wearing a blindfold. But you might be thinking, hold on, what's so wrong with that? If that person is successful, why shouldn't I just copy them? And you know what? It seems logical on the surface. So why is it so incredibly dangerous? Here's why.
Because when you just copy someone, you have no idea why they took that trade. You don't know their strategy, you don't know their risk level, and you definitely don't know their exit plan. So what happens when the trade starts losing money? You panic. You completely freeze. You're dependent, you're powerless, and worst of all, you learn absolutely nothing in the process.
Okay, we have picked apart the 5 biggest mistakes that trip up new traders. But knowing what not to do is only half the picture. So let's flip the script. Let's talk about the path forward. Let's talk about the path to success.
And the beautiful thing is, the path forward is simply the opposite of all those mistakes. Number 1, build your knowledge. Create a real foundation. 2, always manage your risk. That's your shield. It keeps you in the game. 3, develop deep patience. Learn to wait for the perfect pitch. And finally, number 4, think for yourself. Own every single one of your decisions, the good and the bad.
If you only take one single thing away from all of this, let it be this. Success in trading is not a lottery ticket. It's not about luck. It is the result of applying real knowledge with unwavering discipline day in and day out. That's the formula. Knowledge plus discipline. Look, just by understanding these 5 mistakes, you are already miles ahead of most people who are just starting out. This is your first giant leap forward. But remember, this whole journey is a marathon, not a sprint. So don't stop here. Keep learning, keep growing, and commit to building your skills one day at a time. That is how you put yourself on the real path to success.